take a look at some of the biggest battles heading into Sarasota as players jockey for the final couple spots on the roster. Let's look at the starting rotation first and foremost. Could be a competition between a Dean Kramer, a Tyler Wells, and we'll see exactly who can slot themselves into the starting five. Then the bullpen. It's all a domino effect from there. How many lefties will the Orioles carry in their bullpen? And then position player-wise, is there room for a backup first baseman on this roster? So, Rock, as these players look to head down to Sarasota, you have 13 pitchers, 5 going in the starting rotation. Mike Elias has indicated at this point they're not really looking at a 6-man rotation. And very few locks. Maybe Kyle Gibson, maybe Cole Irvin, but after that, it's really anybody's guess.
Yeah, and there really are just those 3 areas of competitions. I mean, there isn't even a backup catcher competition, which we have every spring. It's James McCann. How boring. So it really is rotation. They said bullpen and the last bench spot or 2. And the rotation's fascinating, as we said, because you have so many candidates. And it does look like only 5 spots. I don't even think right now they're excited about the idea of piggybacking because they don't want to take away a reliever and end up with a 7-man pen, which might be ample for some teams, but for a team with still a lot of questions about innings out of the rotation, they need the extra reliever. So how you're going to end up with 5 out of this group, and the fact there are only, I think, the 2 locks, Kyle Gibson's, Cole Irvin, and then it's really open. There's some assumptions. There are guys that the club's rooting for and think they'll make, but with DL Hall, we thought, well, maybe bullpen instead, but they really like him as a starter and want to keep him starting. How the bullpen's impacted by guys falling back into it, which ones can make it, which ones aren't going to make it and have to go down or not even be in the organization still. And then you have the final bench spots. And right now on paper, it still looks like it's everybody from the 40-man roster and nobody non-roster makes it. But that's not guaranteed. There could be a left-handed hitting backup first baseman who's non-roster. Also, as we know, Mike Elias not done yet. He anticipates at least one more move. And as guys hit the waiver wire later in camp, when camp cuts are made, the Orioles can swoop in late. Whether it's a Pedro Severino back in the day, I've got so many stories of guys that they bring in late and blow up our mocks and our projections. So that's still a possibility.
Yeah, I remember when Andrew Kashner was signed in the middle of spring training. He just shows up in Sarasota.
Alex Cobb.
Late, absolutely.
Yeah. So Dexter Fowler for a day and then never showed up, right?
Yeah, and then Mike Elias has made it clear that those moves are possible. But assuming they go into Sarasota with this group, you're looking at your starting 5 and then bumping maybe somebody like a Tyler Wells or a Dean Kramer to the bullpen. What kind of domino effect would that have, especially when you consider Cionel Perez maybe the only lefty lock in the bullpen?
Right. So Gibson and Irvin, I think you go ahead and write them in. Grayson Rodriguez is a guy that has his own cheering section. The organization's like, we really want him in the rotation, so he would have to pitch his way off. The other 2, they're on no matter what. They're getting ready for the season. Grayson's got to he can't have a disastrous camp, but nobody thinks he's going to. That's 3. Now, you look at what Kramer and Kyle Bradish did, and you're like, well, they've earned those spots, but so did Tyler Wells in his first half. He was their most consistent starter. You go to the trouble to transition him back from reliever, Rule 5, to the rotation. He's probably thinking, wait, I'm going back in the pen, and for how long? And you have Austin Voth being paid $1.85 million to avoid arbitration. He might be more of a long reliever swingman type. DL Hall really the wild card, because if they really want him in the rotation, that bumps another guy, and it does only leave Perez is the lone lefty, so does that open the door and we get more into the bullpen for another left-hander? You're not going to just have one lefty in an 8-man bullpen, but the rotation definitely impacts what they do with the bullpen.
Yeah, and then the non-roster invitee list, you have a number of guys on there who might sneak their way onto the opening day roster, and then you have some really exciting prospects, guys like Colton Cowser, Cesar Prieto, Joey Ortiz, Kobe Mayo, and how about Jackson Holliday at 19 years old? Getting invited to big league camp.
Yeah, those are the most exciting ones, and they're not going to make the club, and who knows how long Holiday will be there because you want to get him ready at minor league camp. Just having him there for fans, the team, the media to see is really a big deal.